Is Deadlock really viable in pro play? Let's take a look. Deadlock is an agent with an exceptionally low pick rate, that of just 2% within Americas and EMEA, and within Pacific and China, we're yet to see the agent picked at all. However, this video is going to try and take you through where this agent may be viable, be it via map or what the uses of the agent are for. Before that, however, let's just quickly go over what some of the abilities actually do. To start with, you have the gravity net, which is basically a grenade you throw which will force your enemies to crouch until they remove a pin. This ability is going to be fantastic for combinations. Next up, we have the sonic sensor. Now this ability is quite straightforward. You place it on a wall, if sound is made near it, it will set off and stun whoever walks past. Next up, we have the barrier mesh. Now this is a wall that you can throw up even with your lineups that you're able to shoot through, but you cannot run through. Great for blocking your opponents as they attempt to rotate. Last but not least, we have Annihilation. This is Deadlock's ultimate, which will put anybody it connects with in a cocoon. You fire out a laser beam, and if it bounces and connects onto anybody, that will trap them, dragging them to their death. However, you can shoot your teammate out of it, if you're able to. Now to get into the real analysis. There are 3 teams I'm going to be looking at, as they are the 3 teams that have played Deadlock so far. We've got Foot, we've got Vitality, and the only team to actually have a win with Deadlock, which is Loud. Now Loud have actually come up with quite a few cool ideas, so I really want to start with them and have a look at their defensive side on Lotus. First things first, I want to take a look at the way that Loud are using their sensors. As you can see from this image, what they are doing is basically putting them at the entry points. Now Lotus is a map where you really do have some explosive entries in. A lot of the time you're going to see a raise, blast pack, or somebody just full sprint going into these angles because they are incredibly tight chokes. Now this is where Deadlock can actually be quite viable because, okay, fair enough, if you were to shift walk through and take some risks, that's where those sensors are not going to be as useful as maybe a turret or a trip from a Cypher. But as said, that would come with quite a lot of risks, so a lot of teams will either blast pack, maybe dash, or use neon, and because of that, the sensor is almost definitely going to go off. And we see in a few of these clips that Sadak does an amazing job of making sure his sensors are incredibly well placed, but normally they're combined with other utility. Next up, we have how Sadak is going to be using his wall, and this is something I think, again, specifically on Lotus, has huge amounts of value. Even from pistol rounds, just with throwing deep for A main control and being able to deny anybody for a long period of time because the pistols take absolutely ages to break it, all the way to just creating irritating rotations. And a lot of the time what Sadak will then go and do is stack himself up on the other side of the map with the rest of his utility, with his grav net, with his sensors, so that anybody who tries to make their way into the site is always going to have problems. I think that one of my favorite rounds is well put by Sideshow in this next clip, where they're able to isolate Zekken from the rest of the team because he's already blast back over the utility.
From the rest of Sen. And look, as the blast pack's in here, Zekken, Tens is with him, but everyone else is walled out. Look at the wall! And how perfect that timing is. Zekken got isolated. They got hit with the C's, picked off one by one, and the rest of Sen could only throw in utility.
Keeping with the theme of defensive ideas, I wanted to take a look at how Foot and Vitality use Deadlock when playing maps like Bind and Sunset. Now, unfortunately, with Vitality's defensive side, we didn't really get to see too much based off a lot of the time they avoided kicks completely. But in the rounds we did get to see, you can see on the map right now, he's got his sensors placed, one outside hookah to try and basically catch anyone as they jump out, and the other towards long. Alongside this, they attempted a few different utility combos, and actually one of the cooler plays we saw out of them was in the pistol round itself, where Kix is able to isolate a lot of the battles because they're unable to get through his wall on long. It actually wins them the pistol, in essence. Now with Foot, you can definitely see where they've conceptualized some of their ideas. To start with, they love to try and go for these aggressive pushes, throwing the wall deep and then sending utility to take the space alongside it. It gave them some easier rotations at times, but the main thing I really enjoyed about it was some of their information plays, and they had a double sentinel, which meant they could run a Cypher cam that would make you set off the sensor if you were to go into mid. It definitely had its risks about it, but conceptually, it's an incredibly cool idea. Now to take a little bit of a look at the attack side. Now my main worry when it came to Deadlock is that the attack side stuff just wasn't going to be good enough. The sensors aren't great for watching the flank. Okay, you can maybe try and hold some rotations here and there, and the only thing I was really looking at for excitement was going to be those grab nets and how they were combined with other utility. The fact is though, I think the main thing we've actually seen teams using Deadlock for is helping them in the post plant. As always, the main focus with a lot of this utility is going to be cutting off angles. I think post-plant, the wall has definitely shown some value, or even just before the post-plant, as we see Loud preemptively throwing in some of their utility just to make sure teams can't actually rotate. I think the bigger issue though, and as we'll see from Foot in just a second, is some of that utility definitely has its problems surrounding it. Be it the fact that looking at the wall sometimes, they left a gap in it intentionally to try and catch teams as they ran through. It didn't really work out, and the biggest issue of all, well, you can see in this clip right here.
Take a step. Once they make noise, the stun will come through. You're in a lot of danger. With Yedige waiting around the corner. Somehow they've got most of them, leaving it all on Mr. Fallen. His utility is no more, not to have impact, and, well, the defuse, undeniable. I need to see that back from Trex's POV, because I'm not sure how he got away with that.
The fact is, conceptually, that post plant looked pretty good from Mr. Fallen. The stun set up, so if anybody tried to re-entry into the site, they would fall. The issue is, it's a little bit slow to start, and I think that's one of the problems with the sensors is it does seem like people can get away with some stuff before you actually stop them getting back into the site. Continuing with the attack side, I do now want to talk about the GravNet. I definitely think it's been one of the best pieces of utility we've seen brought in, especially for Deadlock. I think it is the best piece that she currently has available, and a lot of the combinations that teams are able to pull off end up being really cool, be it just clearing some of the same spots that you might end up clearing with a fade, like using the C's and then a nade on top of it, or combining with some of the util that's going to be there off the back of the sensors. I think that especially on the attack, this can be really viable just to clear out some of the positions that you're normally going to struggle with. Last and maybe somewhat least, we have Deadlock's ultimate. Now, this is an ability where I'll be brutally honest, I say it kind of lets the kit down just a little bit. I think it's a very situational ultimate, one where you almost need your opponents to be focused on something else. Maybe it can be used as a bit of a distraction to try and get you space while they're shooting their teammate out of the cocoon. But when you have multiple people nearby, this ultimate almost seems to have little to no impact. From the games that I saw, I remember specifically maybe 1 or 2 kills that a lot of the time didn't really have that much impact on the round, and it's something that can be quite hard to really combine other things with. Maybe it'll be good in some clutches, and at least Mr. Fallen has put it to good use once or twice.
As well, not going to be caught up by the thrash and stun. No, that's a beautiful cocoon indeed. I don't think they're going to break that, and if they do, Mr. Fallen's waiting to punish Runner down and out. And they still haven't managed to make it out this choke point with Yedige on the other side. Beautiful crossfire and beautiful execution from this Foot side.
To conclude, do I think Deadlock is going to be a meta-defining, game-changing agent? Probably not. I think other Sentinels such as Killjoy and Cypher definitely seem to have that little bit of extra value right now. Teams still running stuff like double controller, double initiator, puts Deadlock a little bit on the edge. But are there going to be a few maps where I think that she can be viable? Definitely. I think Bind looks like a great choice, again, with a lot of the tight chokes and even places where you're forced to make sound. And what we've seen from Sadak so far on Lotus, I definitely think that could be something that's going to be very hard to play against in the future. Other maps, I'm yet to really be convinced, but even still, I think there's a lot of cool things that can be conceptualized around this agent, and I'm looking forward to see what teams have on offer soon. Either way, that is it for the video. Let me know your thoughts. It's not the sort of video I've done before, so if you enjoyed it, please let me know down in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you again next time. I've been Tombizz. Bye.